How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gianluca, or as you might see on my name tag in the hospital, Dr. Calcagno, and at the time of this recording, I'm pretty sure anyways, I am the world's newest doctor. Now, for those of you that are new to the channel, I am actually filming this video ahead of my first day of residency. So by the time I get it edited and put up on YouTube, I will have only been working as a family medicine resident physician for about a day or two, most likely. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, because we hit 10,000 subscribers about 3 months ago now, and it was such a big accomplishment for the channel after posting videos for like 3 years. And at the time, I had a few people that had reached out wanting me to do a Q&A, and I really wanted to as well, but then things just got so busy. We had the board exams, ended up doing 3 board exams for Canada and the United States, 3 exams at about 8 or 9 hours a piece, and I did them all within 3 months. But we were really busy. We're back now. I have everyone's questions here saved. I had some more people reach out and help me on Instagram, send me more questions. And we're gonna do one question for every 1,000 subscribers. We are so close now to 13,000. And you guys could always help out by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. So these are gonna be my 13 favorite. And if you guys want to know anything else, put a comment in the comment section below. But other than that, here is to getting to know the world's newest doctor just a little bit better. Now, some of these questions are going to be longer than others. I'll be sure to timestamp everything and leave those in the description below. But basically, the very first question is, how old am I and how long have I been in school for? I am 25 years old right now. As of next week, I'll be 26. And I've been in school for my entire life. I didn't take any breaks off from the day I started high school, basically. And if we don't include high school, that is 8 additional years of training in school, and now 2 years for my family medicine post-grad training that I'm going to do. That's my residency now. So that works out to 5 years that I spent at Ryerson. Those were 4 years to get my Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Science, and then I stuck around for an additional 1 year, still enrolled with Ryerson to do research and do some more courses and things like that. Then I did 3 years at McMaster University for their medical school program, and now the 2 years of family medicine, also in McMaster University. Question number 2 is a little bit more of a juicy one. This one is, what was the most embarrassing moment for you in medical school? And upon reflection, you know, it depends on how you define embarrassing, right? Like, as a medical student, you get things wrong quite a bit. But to me, I would say if I get something wrong and it's me and like the doctor, for example, or me and one of my friends, it's not really that embarrassing. Where the embarrassing factor sets in is if you mess up or do something and there are a lot of other people around. So the story for the most embarrassing thing that's happened to me in medical school that I did was that I was working, I think I was on internal medicine at the time, and the doctor that I was working with wanted me to consult general surgery. And they wanted me to consult general surgery for a patient to do something that I knew that the doctor working on general surgery was not going to do. I had worked with this doctor before. He had a little bit of a reputation, and I just knew that when I called him, it wasn't going to work out the way that I wanted it to. So I kind of told the doctor that I was working with in internal medicine, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, because I'll be right here. And if they have any problems with you, you just pass the phone over to me." I said, "Okay, well, we'll see how that goes." And so, you know, I called and they didn't answer right away. So you got to leave your name and number. They'll call you back. And I did that, and I hung up the phone, and the doctor I was working with had to go do something else. So they left, and I took my time and I wrote out everything on a sheet of paper, making sure that I had all the patient details ready to go. And as I was working, some of the nurses came to the station that I was working at because they had things to do. And some of the other medical students came over to this like hoteling workstation because they had things to do. And eventually the phone rings and the nurse passes it to me, and the surgeon wants to know what the consult's for. And I had all my stuff ready to go. So I start from the top and I'm reading what I thought was going to be this really great consult that I had prepared because I knew which way this was going. And the surgeon cut me off after like 30 seconds of talking and just laid into me about how I was wasting his time with this consult, and I was giving, first of all, unnecessary details, he thought, but then also that this wasn't his job and this, that, and the other thing. And he just let me have it in front of everyone there. And at the end of it all, I didn't even know what to say. So I just go, "Okay, thank you, sir. Bye-bye." And I hung up the phone, and I looked up, and all of my friends and the nurses were all staring at me. And I guess they could hear because they were speaking pretty loud on the other end of the phone. And that was just, I remember that was super embarrassing. The rest of the day, I just kind of hung my head down, went home, and just went straight to sleep. That was the end of it for me. The next one is, what is my favorite car and what comes next after the Mustang? For those of you that don't know, my favorite thing that I have in my possession is my Mustang. It's a 2016 Ford Mustang named Maya. It's gray with a black stripe. And listen, the deal is that I don't like many things. I am not a big fan of dressing fancy for the most part. 9 times out of 10, if you see me, I'm in a t-shirt and jeans. I'm really not a big tech guy, but the two things that I do really enjoy are watches and cars. And my dream car, or what comes next after the Mustang, is when I'm able to pay off all my student loans and stuff like that, I would love to upgrade to the Porsche Cayman, the 718 models. Something with a 6-cylinder manual would be just so perfect, I think. Everything about it looks amazing. But forwards into the future, if the opportunity lends itself, something like a GT4 or a 911 Turbo, the new ones, that's what we're talking about. Next question is, what am I most excited for in residency? And this one's just such an easy answer for me. I'll say that the hardest part, or the thing that I dreaded most about being a medical student, is the uncertainty of people coming to you and asking you questions and things like that, and you just not having the answer ready to go, you not having seen this before. And in residency, I am really excited about just getting that exposure. And being one of the best things about family medicine, I think, is being able to rotate throughout so many different specialties. So I'm going to do OB again, we're going to do emergency medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics. Basically, we're going to go back through a lot of the specialties, but this time being in a position where I'm able to, or have to do a lot more, and therefore just, I feel like throughout my training, one of the constant things is that I learn best when that pressure is put on me and I'm forced to do things just a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And that's why I'm a little apprehensive about residency, but also excited at the same time, because I understand that the pressure is necessary and I can't wait to come out on the other side just knowing so much more than I know now. Because I think that's when medicine is going to become a lot more enjoyable and interesting for me, when I do have a very good grasp of everything. And I think that's one of the best parts about the board exams and studying for them. I learned a lot of the textbook stuff. I feel very comfortable with a lot of the textbook style stuff, and now I want to apply that in person. Question number 5 is, what is my favorite TV show? And truthfully, I don't actually watch a lot of TV. It's very rare to see me watching TV, like especially an extended series these days. Once I started medical school, and with YouTube and with other projects and stuff, my amount of free time really just kind of tanked, unfortunately. But anything involving time travel, I will make an exception to go out of the way and watch it. And therefore, it goes without saying that my favorite TV show of all time is Steins Gate. I feel like Steins Gate is not only the best TV show that I've ever watched, but it's my favorite time travel journey that I've ever been able to see. Just, it combined the right amount of sci-fi and just plausibility and application of real world concepts, and I loved it. And if anyone is into anime or time travel, highly recommend Steins Gate. Is probably one of the best series that I've ever watched. And as a PS, my favorite medical TV show, it's not even close, it is House MD. If you want to get into medicine, it's a good laugh. It's a good, just watch the show. Watch House. It was my favorite. Now the wording for this one was a little bit different, but I want to make sure that I keep basically it word for word. I'm going to try my best to answer it. But it says, med student / graduate / doctor plus YouTuber plus adventurer plus exercise. How do you manage it all? How do you manage your time so well in a field that's so demanding? Can you please give us some tips? This one's difficult, but I think it's like really, really important, and it's something that I've tried my best to get a little bit better at every single year. And I don't think that I've even really mastered my schedule yet, but I do know that I do a few different things, many different things in many different fields, because I enjoy doing these different things. And I feel like for me, I function best when I'm doing all of these things. If I start taking things out of my schedule that I enjoy, I feel like the person that I am suffers as a result. So for example, I go to the gym about 5 days a week, sometimes 6. And if I stop doing that, like there's times where I've tried to cut out, like during surgery or during internal medicine or some of the harder rotations, and I just feel off. And it's the same when I don't make videos or when I don't do something creative. It just feels strange for me. So it's a rock and a hard place, right? But the more you take on, number one, you have to give things up somewhere. So I've really decreased a lot of things that I didn't find were necessary. I really cut back on the amount of TV and things that I watch in my free time like that. And a little bit further than that, I really, during the year, I cut back a lot on my sleep. And that's something that's really not good, but there's no other way around it. You really just have to prioritize the things that you're going to do. And it's inevitable sometimes that if you have projects that are due and other things that you're doing, you're going to have to give up on sleep. And that meant sometimes in medical school between 2 and 4 hours a night. And I know that sometimes that comes up. You just want to keep that as infrequent as possible. But the busier you get, sometimes there's just no other way around it. I'll say also that as long as you are prioritizing what you do, the next thing is just make a schedule. And making a schedule, you don't need a fancy app, you don't need any of these things that the majority of YouTubers are trying to sell you. It's just as easy as having a sheet of paper or a whiteboard and writing things down and remembering that moving through your checklist, getting things done is addictive. And there's a little feeling of euphoria when you have this big list and you've checked off 3-4 things and you feel good. You feel like the momentum is going. And that is what I've used to make sure that I'm able to do all these things. I like to sit back sometimes and look at my schedule and see that 3 out of the 6 things were checked off and kind of see in the day how much I got accomplished. It's really not a sexy answer by any means, and it's actually one that I feel like a lot of people probably don't want to hear me say, but the truth of the matter is that sometimes to do things that you want to do, you have to give up things that you used to do. And to become someone that you want to be, you have to leave behind a little bit of who you were. And it sounds really depressing, but yeah, that means sometimes in med school, you're not going to parties with your friends. You're not seeing some of your friends for a long period of time, and you're not doing things that you used to like to do. But as long as you focus on your goals and you set your lists and your priorities, you do have this feeling of accomplishment, and you do have this newfound feeling of new things that you like and new things that you enjoy doing. And I think that's really important to remember. And remember, guys, you should only be taking on things that, number 1, either you need to do, you absolutely have to do, or that 2, you like to do. That's basically should be your goal moving forward. Question number 7 is my favorite gym lift. And for those of you that have watched the channel for a while, you know that the gym is something that is so important to me, and being athletic and working out, going for runs, doing all these different things is something that's been with me for so long, and I really can't see myself letting it go pretty much ever. And I really do feel like a worse person when I stop it. The thing with it is that number 1, I like the feeling of setting new limits for myself and then pushing past those limits. But then number 2, I also like being able to control my body in certain ways and looking good and doing fitness to look good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, so that you're more comfortable with the person that you are and more confident. And I think that was advice that probably would have been better shared with me when I was younger, because I was a really skinny kid for a while. And getting into the gym really helped with my confidence. It really helped with my ability to sit down afterwards and learn, and it helps me sleep at night. There's just so many benefits with it. My favorite lift is the bench press, but I also recently started getting back into gymnastics and things like that. And I've been training the human flag a lot, and doing flags are just so much fun. It's definitely become my favorite thing to train right now. Now I'm going to combine the next 2, because it is why did you decide to get into medicine, or any specific things that pushed you into medicine, and then what would you be if you didn't get into medicine. And the first thing that I'll say is that I've had exposures to medicine and the hospital as an unfortunate side effect of people being sick when I was young and having to be in the hospital in that environment. But many people have. And I ultimately, upon reflection, before I even got into medical school, I don't think that was why I ended up in medicine. I don't think it was a result of childhood trauma and being in the hospital and things like that with people around me. It was more so that when I got to high school, I saw the things that I enjoyed. And the things that I enjoyed were the sciences and learning about them and teaching them, and this curiosity for the way the body and the world worked. And then it just so happened that at that moment, I met and was able to interact with people that were a little bit older than me, that were also going into medical school, and getting to speak with doctors when I volunteered at the hospital and things like that. I'll say that I'm glad that it worked out that way, that I chose medicine and that medicine didn't just rope and pull me in, because I think that you don't know what medicine's like until you get here. And I could say that as someone that was in the pre-med stream and made it here eventually. There's nothing that will get you up to speed as to what a career in medicine will be like until you are here going through it yourself. And that's what medical school really taught me. And I will say that was always really, really nice as a medical student, knowing that there was no one pushing me to be here. There was never any sort of exterior pressure for me to be here at all. And if I didn't go to medical school, if we're gonna just really separate the school path, the whole thing, right? Because once I was in pre-med, it was very likely that if I didn't get into medical school, I probably would have got into like biotechnology or a startup or something like that. But I'm pretty sure I would have ended up in construction if I didn't consider going to school at all. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Most of my family is in construction and the trades. And I think that being a very competent trades worker is probably more beneficial now more than ever, from both a lucrative standpoint and your ability to do things by yourself. I think the trades are a very respectable position, and I most likely would have ended up somewhere in construction if I didn't decide to go into school and was good at it and ended up in medical school. The next one is, how much debt am I in and how do I expect to pay it off? The answer is too much, and by working very, very hard. And I guess from a real standpoint, if you want to give numbers to it, it's in excess of $200,000 Canadian, which really isn't that bad compared to a few other students down in the States. And you know, that's a combination of my medical school costs, my 5 years at Ryerson, and then some extra entrepreneurial things that I'm involved in from like real estate perspective and things like that. And how I intend to pay it off is by working very, very hard. Nothing motivates you, I think, to work crazy hours coming out of school, like taking a look at your bank statement and being like, I need to get to work now. And to be in medical school for 3 years and not be getting paid, you know, it's becoming very, I would say, disheartening, very annoying to watch the rest of your friends be able to go out and do all these different things and enjoy themselves. And you have to be very careful about your money, especially because I just came back from a vacation at the end of medical school, because I thought it would be a good idea to de-stress before residency started. But yeah, now I do have to be careful, and I am excited to go to work and work very hard to pay it all back. All right, 3 questions left. Last 3. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comment section below. I'm curious to see who makes it to the end of these videos, and if you want me to keep making long ones like this, I totally will. But the next one is imposter syndrome. Has it hit me? How do I deal with it? And this is an interesting one, because as it stands right now, and as it was in medical school, I never really felt imposter syndrome about being a medical student. Like, it didn't hit me the same way that other people have told me that it hit them. But that's not to say that I don't deal with imposter syndrome. One of the biggest places that I deal with imposter syndrome is here on YouTube, especially in the beginning, right? Like, trying to post videos on YouTube when they suck and you're comparing yourself to all the other med students and med YouTubers and stuff like that. You're like, why would anyone watch this channel? What am I doing making stuff on here? And to this day, I still feel it sometimes, right? Because like, most of the comments you get on here are okay, and sometimes you don't get comments at all, which is okay too. But it's like those few comments from people, whoever they are, that are just like really, really like hard. They're hard to listen to and like take that criticism of your channel. I'll say that that's one thing about YouTube. It really teaches you, and one of the things that I could take with it and apply in the workplace now is how to take really, really harsh criticism and things people will tell you in the comments that they would never tell you in real life, or I'm pretty sure most people wouldn't tell you in real life. And as far as that relates to imposter syndrome, how do I get through it, is just to know that at the end of the day, I'm trying my best with everything. And like, objectively, I could look back at some of the things that I've done and some of the things that I'm doing now and see just how far I've come and how much I've improved. And focusing more on your improvements and not so much where you stand in relation to other people is how I've learned to deal with imposter syndrome on any level. And I think that's something that you could apply in medical school. And you know, maybe my experience here on YouTube is one of the reasons why I didn't really feel it so much in medical school, because you know, the lesser of two evils, I guess, was that in medical school, I could compare myself to other people that were all going through the same thing. And yeah, we were on different levels, but we were all improving at relatively the same rate. Here was totally different in the beginning. That's my experience with imposter syndrome. Number 12 is it true that getting into medical school is the hardest part about this whole process? And I mean, yes and no, right? Like, I think the one thing that happens to medical students is that we look back and we forget about how difficult certain parts of the journey were. Like, in studying for the step 1, the step 2, and the Canadian exams, there are many times where I'm like, this is so much harder than the MCAT, like leaps and bounds harder. And in actuality, they are harder than the MCAT. But when I was a pre-med student, trying to get a top percentile score on the MCAT, that was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do in terms of like from an academic standpoint. I will say that it is nice not having to be the top of the top in everything that you do, because you're fighting for a space in medical school. But at the same time, especially if you are going into a residency program that's very competitive, that doesn't go away once you get to medical school. So I think the final answer in this is that no, unfortunately, getting into medical school, I don't think is the hardest part about the journey. I think it gets even harder when you are in medical school trying to get a competitive residency. And then when you are in a competitive residency and you're not sleeping for years and you're getting underpaid and you're getting worked to dust basically by a system that I don't really know how much they care about you in some cases, it is just progressive beat down sometimes. And that is something that you learn to handle as you go through. You have to learn to handle it. There's no way around it. And the way that you handle it, this is the secret, by the way. This is why I'm still here, and this is why I keep going. You learn to handle this stuff by focusing only on the good things and learning to forget the bad things very, very quickly. That's like a skill that I've developed. When I have a hard day at work, within 2 or 3 days, I'll have mostly forgotten about that entire day. But when I have a good day, I'll hold on to that. And I'll use that to get me through as much as I can. And then doing things outside of work and trying to make the time you have in work as enjoyable as is possible. But just know that the difficulty doesn't go away. You just get stronger and you get better at the things that you do. And that's why relative to yourself, you could look back and say that was easy because the things you're dealing with now are harder, but I'm thriving better in this environment. And I hope that makes sense. And the last question is, what are 3 things that you would tell yourself back in undergrad if you were able to? And I'm going to choose to answer this question in this way. Like if I could meet myself 8 years ago, starting undergrad, like in a one-to-one conversation at like a coffee shop, for example, the first thing that I would say is that I am doing fine. I'm doing better than fine. I'm at a place right now that I've always wanted to be. And I'm so happy that I'm here now. And I'm so happy that I kept going. And that because you're me, you're gonna do okay. But in order to get there, the second thing is that you have to work hard. And learning to value hard work is a switch that I've made that there's nothing that really replaces hard work ever. Because here's the thing, it doesn't matter where you are, right? Not like you don't start off in the same place as everyone. People get different advantages and whatever. But if you work hard, you will improve. You will be able to look back at where you were and say, I'm not here anymore. So it doesn't matter what your situation's like. Many times, if you want to improve to your own situation, you have to work hard. And that's why I don't compare myself to other people. I compare myself to where I used to be. And it's the hard work that's gotten me in a different place and in a different direction than where I was going. And the third thing is that doctor stereotypes are just so wrong. I remember early on in undergrad being told, you're gonna have to do this and you're gonna have to do that and you're gonna change in this way. And I just wish that I would be able to, as a new undergrad, watch this question and answer video and see that the person that I became, that the world's newest doctor, is the same person as before. And you don't have to do everything in the exact same way as everything else. It's okay to be a little bit different and do different things and all the things that I do and YouTube and whatever else. And I think that's awesome. I think trying to shine in your own light and being unique and doing your own things and following your passions is the most important thing that you could do to like steer you in the right direction. And it's how I ended up where I am today, which I'm very happy for, if nothing else, right? And that's all I could really ask for. So for those of you that stuck around for the whole video, thank you very much. Even if you didn't, thanks for watching today, whatever you did. And we will see you all in the next one. Comment down whatever videos you want me to make in the future. There are more coming. Wish me luck in residency, and I wish you all the best. Everyone take care.